Why does it feel like nothing is visibly changing for everyone on a day-to-day basis or for anyone on a day-to-day basis?
You're feeling the weather pattern changing every year. We live in Gulf. The desert storm is happening rapidly. 40 years before, the weather patterns were different when I entered the Gulf. When there is no predictive monsoons or predictive weather conditions, how do you expect agriculture to survive? So this is a change in face of the world.
What is the Paris Climate Agreement?
They agreed, 192 countries have agreed the way forward in terms of carbon emission, carbon reduction, net zero transition, moving from fossil fuels to renewables and alternates.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Green TV. I am Shruti Seetharaman, a content creator, a storyteller, your anchor for today's episode, and also an entrepreneur. And I believe that we should be making or figure out how we should be making everyday choices to have a greener planet. And joining me in conversation today is Dr. Seetharaman, who is a global leading voice in green banking. He is also a banker outside of green banking. He's a sustainability advocate, also believes in wanting to propagate on how we can all make choices that can change the future.
That's right.
So today we're asking a very simple question about, or everything that we're going to talk about is around this question of, are we too late or do we still have time to fix things?
We are never late. Your change should start today, from now. That should be the power of positivity.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it in a previous podcast that we said tomorrow means today, today means now.
That's right.
Like that. Yeah, so I think it's important that we start taking action. I don't think we're too late, but we're going to dwell into some more questions.
Now, we live in a changing world, extraordinary set of changes we are seeing it on account of global warming and climate change. It's global boiling, as the United Nations says. So tremendous amount of efforts required. That's why now we set a pre-industrial level of 1.5 degree reduction, and the countries are towards net zero transition. Every country has specified their national goal in getting into renewables, reducing the carbon emission, making sure they are making it eco-friendly. The corporates are coming to terms in terms of ESG compliance model. And we are seeing the reflection of environment in all sectors. So we are in a defining moment to change the future.
Which brings me to my question, which I think you've sort of answered, but just to reiterate, the question is, are we actually in a climate crisis, or is this just a scary headline that everyone's putting out?
We are. It is not a headline, it's real. Every year, if you look at it, the climate, if you compare with the previous year, is hot. Increasingly, it's a signal. The weather patterns are changing, the food security is at stake, poverty is increasing, and it impacts healthcare, it impacts the overall humanity in substance. The quality of living is at stake. The air pollution, sea pollution, name it. So it's not just a headline.
Okay, and now it brings us to a very simple question about if we are actually in a climate crisis and it's important to act upon it now. Why does it feel like nothing is visibly changing for everyone on a day-to-day basis or for anyone on a day-to-day basis?
What is not visibly changing? You are feeling the weather pattern changing every year. We live in Gulf, and the desert storm is happening rapidly. Sometimes occasional rains are coming. 10 years before, we have not witnessed this. 40 years before, the weather patterns were different when I entered the Gulf. And today, what you define as a winter, what you define the four season, is not really predictable. When there is no predictive monsoons or predictive weather conditions, how do you expect agriculture to survive? How do you expect, the overall productivity we can ensure? So this is a change in face of the world. The single most challenge in global today is climate risk.
Yeah, I think what this means is that there is something that's changing every single day. It's just that we're not focusing on it because we're not at the point of extinction, right? We're at the starting phase of it. It is a climate risk, it is a climate crisis. But for example, if I stop to think about it, I can recall when there was Asian Games, was two significant events where I was outdoors a lot. The Asian Games was so cold in Doha in 2006. I was wearing like two t-shirts. And then when we went to the World Cup to Doha 2022, completely different. Didn't feel like a winter. We used to have a hailstorm back at Asian Games.
That's right.
Right? Like those are small things that as you're growing and evolving, you don't even process that existed, because at least my generation maybe, we've just evolved because there's been change.
You learn to adopt.
But also we've seen so many changes in the world in the way that techs come into play. So we have the access to like AC, fan if the weather is not predictable. You have the option to have resources to help you cope with the current situation, so you don't pay attention to it. But if you stop to think about it, those are changing. The quality of food that we get to eat is not the same, but we don't know that because we were kids when the quality of food was slightly better. Or maybe even back then we probably got not as good quality as food as you. With time it's gotten worse, and what we don't realize is that that's exactly why gut health has become such an important concept to focus on, or an important thing or ritual to do. That's why everyone reacts to gluten, everyone reacts to dairy, or we claim that it's better for the environment or not better for the environment, hence make better choices. These are things we don't pay attention to because we were still growing into it. And I think we're going to realize that another 5 years down the line, which is what we shouldn't wait for. And I think it's important that you stated that we are actually in a climate crisis. We just have to pay attention to what they are.
Sustainability is all about, growing without destroying. What about the future generation? You were kids in 2006. You are grown-up adult now, to date. And what about the generations to come? How can we leave a bad legacy? That's the issue. We need to protect this world. And it's changing. What we see as the danger is we think that it's not our problem. It's not my problem, I say. If I say it, then I'm inhuman.
I don't think it's just your generation, but like I said, I think...
Whichever be the generation, we have to focus on climate change. And today, more than ever, we are seeing the reflection of the bad practices we have had. And it is a shared responsibility to protect this planet. That's the simple message.
Okay. So the question is there actually something that's working right now, like real solutions that have made a difference in the world?
It is happening. If you look at the Conference of Party started in 1992 to date, we have increasing focus towards alternates, energy. And again, now we have solar, wind, biofuel, biomass. We have green hydrogen, nuclear. All sort of options are open. And again, we learn to make sure carbon emission is measured and managed. Carbon exchanges are evolving. Corporates have responsibility not only to make profit, but profit with purpose. So these are happening. So people have recognized the importance of it. Environmental social governance and corporate social responsibility is a mandated obligation for institutions. The market valuation of these companies are also getting reflected based on your commitment to society. Social risk management is part of the functional management in substance. It's a strategic drive. As a part of corporate strategy, you have to have ESG. So these are a real advancement over the years, but we need to go a long way.
Okay, so it's great that you're talking about all of the changes or all of the little initiatives that people are doing, but the bigger question is, or corporates, not just people that they're performing, but the bigger question is it everywhere or is it there around enough to make a bigger change?
Europe has done very well, Scandinavia especially, Norway or Denmark. Copenhagen is already zero carbon, net carbon city. And we have many countries are in net zero transition, and carbon trust was created and carbon offsetting mechanism were well laid out in Europe. America is now contemplating the options. American policies have been reversed in the current administration towards their commitment to the global warming and climate change is waning, to tell you the substance. Now, more and more artificial intelligence data center means more and more power consumption. It's going in the other way around. When it comes to Asia, they are moving up in the value chain. They have to develop. Their industries are at stake, but at the same time, they are moving towards renewables. The renewable energies like solar, India is a classic example. Africa is also scaling up renewables. Rwanda, no pollution, no plastic pollution. So there are classic examples around the world. It's shaping up, and the Conference of the Parties are working together right from Paris Climate Agreement in 2015. So it's in the right direction, but we need to intensify.
What is the Paris Climate Agreement?
Conference of the Parties, they agreed, 192 countries have agreed the way forward in terms of carbon emission, carbon reduction, net zero transition, moving from fossil fuels to renewables and alternates. So that agreement is landmark.
Okay, and that brings me to the very important question, which is how much of this is on us versus the government?
It's a public-private partnership, isn't it? See, if individuals started redefining their lifestyle, recognizing their commitment towards this beautiful planet, we have to protect this planet, then the collective wisdom will play in the society. It's a team effort, whether it is water consumption, reduction of water consumption, using the solar energy, creating values out of the nature, again, making sure less pollution. These are all within our hands, as we discussed. Then the society has to, there are places like in Spain, in Barcelona, the communities have, community housing is, and the electricity is managed by a group of societies through solar. There are villages in India, through solar microgrids, they're managing it. Their smart meters have been put through and they're controlling it efficiently. So it's happening, but it has to scale up.
Is climate anxiety becoming a real thing? It's something that I think about all the time.
It is. You don't need anxiety if you recognize your commitment and you be a, catalyst to promote the green generation. As a banker, I invested or lend a portion of our wealth or capital when I was running a bank, or in personal terms now, towards green mission, because it's a conscious decision. We should